Welcome back to Incorrigible. I'm your host, Glory Sky. We started out talking about freedom of speech today. I think we'd like to continue on that topic with more constitutionally protected rights and freedoms. This page and this question comes to us from Divine Atheist on Quora today. The question is submitted by Christopher, and he'd like to know, why does the left believe that the Constitution calls for separation of church and state, when in reality it says no such thing? Okay. Oh, okay. Jerry says, because it does. Article 6, the senators and representatives before mentioned, and the members of several state legislatures, and all executive and judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. But no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. That protects the state from the church. It's also part of the original text for those originalists out there. It says, Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people to peaceably assemble and to petition the government for a readdress of grievances. So the church can't tell the state how to govern, and the government can't tell the church how to worship. That is the definition of a secular government, which is known as the separation of church and state. And somehow that has all gotten muddled up, and we've gotten this weird mix of, we don't tax churches because they're supposed to be these charitable organizations, yet they're bringing in billions of dollars, and only 1 in 50 will give a can of baby food to a starving child when the mother calls. Why are we making laws that respect the establishment of religion? There should be no laws that have any part whatsoever to do with religion. Eleanor would like our original questioner to know, it looks like you never really read anything about the architects of the Constitution or what they wrote. Here's the First Amendment of the Constitution. Amendment 1, freedom of religion, speech, and the press, rights of assembly and petition. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging freedom of speech, press, right of the people to peacefully assemble and petition the government for a readdress of grievances. She says, James Madison believed that the government should not interfere with religion and that the church and state should be completely separate. He was a key architect of the Bill of Rights and a strong advocate for religious freedom. Madison was quite clear that the government should not make any laws or requirements of faith. Though it does not say there will be a separation of church and state specifically, it does say that Congress shall make no laws respecting an establishment of religion. FYI, Congress makes the laws, not the president, not the judiciary. Presidents can make executive orders, but if the executive orders run counter to the Constitution, no one needs to obey it. The judiciary can interpret the laws established by Congress if those laws are constitutional. What does that mean for you? It means that you can believe in any religion that makes you feel good. You can attend any church that fits how you believe. It also means that you don't have to believe in any religion. It also means that you cannot force other people to believe the way that you believe. That is the separation between the church and state. Imagine, if you will, how you would feel if you lived in an area that was majority Muslim and the local government demanded that everyone should read the Quran and go to temple and pray every day to Mecca. That the children should all learn and follow the teachings of Muhammad. I can hear your screams now. That is why there is separation of church and state. I'll tell you, I particularly do live in a place where the veil between the separation of church and state is quite thin. I live in a highly religiously controlled area where basically the local religion owns most of the wealth and controls almost all of the politics. John says, I'll draw your attention to a little thing called the Anti-Establishment Clause. It's part of the First Amendment. You might have heard of that. And it states that Congress will make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. Of course, we've heard this over and over again. What that means in plain English, though, which is the only kind of English that MAGA has any hope of understanding, is that the government cannot establish an official state religion. It cannot enact legislation intended to give any religious tenet or authority of law, nor can it outlaw any religion within reason. That basically means that you get to have your religion, but your religion doesn't get to make the rules for everyone else. Is it simple enough for you? Unfortunately, the wording of the Anti-Establishment Clause allows it to be reasonably interpreted as applying to only the federal government, leaving state and local legislatures free to enact rigorously based laws that to their evil little heart's content. And they do. Shrinks says, it doesn't specifically say the words freedom of religion either, but the fact is true. Religious freedom is impossible without separation of the church and the state. It's a simple fact that the founders knew quite well from European history. And why would any sane person not want religion separate from law and government? It's a weird comment that Jason says is, exactly. In my opinion, there's no freedom of religion, only freedom to love Jesus. Any other religion should be illegal. What the fuck? That's exactly the point. Oh, only Jesus-loving religions should be respected. I'm an atheist, and I don't believe in any of that stuff. So, I'm not going to believe in that. I also think that that's insane because not all religions actually worship Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior or whatever. So any other religion has to be illegal. That is exactly wanting a state mandate or the government to come in and say what kind of religion is acceptable. Only your religion is acceptable? Nobody else's beliefs are valid in any way? Why don't you live your life on your terms and leave me the hell alone so I can live my life on mine? Wow. So Joe says, you only have to read the First Amendment, which prohibits Congress from establishing a religion or interfering on people exercising it. Is that too far for you to read in one amendment? Also, the guy who wrote the Constitution explains in plain language to plain church folk. Thomas Jefferson described it as a wall of separation in a letter to the Danbury Baptist Association in 1802. Do you understand the meaning of wall and separation? Oh my gosh, exactly. This guy says, have you ever read the First Amendment? It may not use that exact phrase, but how in the hell are you supposed to interpret it in any other way? Response says, have you seen how they interpret the Bible? They can make it say anything they want. Facts. Fully facts. He says, in my opinion, religion should be a very personal thing and nothing to do with state governance. Agreed. They should be separate in all countries, but that is not how some countries are. It's true. That's what was unique about America. That was one of the things that made it so special in its inception, was that there was this, it was one of the first countries that were established with the idea in mind that we should be building a society meant for all of us and to protect all of us, because they had already come from other places where they'd gotten it wrong and they had state sanctioned religions or whatever. It should all be separate, but that was one of the great promises of America, was that you could live and you could worship freely, or you could worship not at all. You don't have the freedom of religion unless you have freedom from religion as well. You can't say that you're actively choosing Christianity if you're not free to reject Islam, if you're not free to reject Buddhism or Hinduism or Mormonism. Can you actually say that you've chosen your religion and that you're in the right one for you if you are not free to reject all the others? That's part of the freedom. Your freedom of choice also comes with freedom to not choose. I'll leave it this. Randall says, because facts, this guy, actually, we're not going to leave it this one because it's ridiculous, but this guy says, because facts don't matter to liberals, they will lie about anything to promote their causes. At the heart, here's the destruction of religion. Libs hate religion and want themselves and government to be idolized, not God. This coming from the people who literally want to make a golden god out of a rapist and a pedophile. These Trumpers make no sense. According to them, liberals are lying about the fact that the Constitution says that there should be a separation between church and state, and that we're killing religion to promote our own causes. As far as I can say, from the beginning of time, it's been the religious right that's been trying to force themselves on everyone else. I don't force my anti-religious stance on anyone else. I don't force anybody else to not go to church. I don't show up at the churches and protest them for being there because I don't believe in what you believe. I live my life and I mind my business. That's what I want for everyone. The right and the protection to live your life and worship as you choose. Your religion is a deeply personal thing, and it should stay that way. Deeply personal. Keep it to yourself. I don't need to hear about it. I don't want it ruling my body and my life. I've already saved myself from the cult that I was raised in, and I choose not to participate in them anymore ever again for the rest of my life. And that is my constitutionally protected right as an American-born citizen. It is a constitutionally protected right that I will fight for the rest of my life, and I will fight for you for the rest of your life to have it. Relevant comment back to Mr. Liberals don't care about facts and they're destroying religion with their hate and the government needs to be idolized, which is hilarious because, like I said, golden God Trump over here to them can do no wrong. He's literally the second coming of Jesus to them in some way. Lynn's posting a relevant meme saying, "What do you mean I can't force people to follow my religious beliefs? Stop oppressing me." There's a little crybaby on it. Jeff says, whoever said there are no stupid questions has never visited Quora. You might as well ask why the right thinks the Constitution protects their right to own a gun, when in reality the word gun appears nowhere in the document. That's true. Maybe we need to move on to Second Amendment. Maybe we need to go through and do a series here where we talk about the individual amendments and how they're being trampled all over and how they need to actually be utilized for the safety and protection of all Americans, and for the safety and protection of everyone on American soil. We are aware that the amendments to the Constitution do not directly apply only to American citizens. They apply to anybody on our soil. Now that's a fact. So I think I'm going to leave you at that. I appreciate your time today. Have the day you deserve.